In Episode 8, we met a different Luke Skywalker than most of us were expecting. He had closed himself off from the Force, resolved to die in exile on the island where the very first Jedi Temple had been built, believing that the Jedi were failures that needed to be replaced by something new. In the film, we only see Luke's green lightsaber in flashbacks. On Ahch-To, he never wields the weapon. When I first saw Episode 8, one of the biggest questions I had was, where is his green lightsaber? The lightsaber is the weapon of a Jedi. The kyber crystal inside bonds with the user, forming a connection through the Force. Specifically, Luke's relationship with his lightsaber would be interesting during this time period, given how it would now be connected to a moment of great shame and his biggest failure with Ben. So where was it? Did he destroy it when his temple burned down? Did he leave it behind on Ossus? Did he take it with him to Ahch-To? The film never shows us, but thankfully, the novelization of The Last Jedi provides an answer. So as we know, the last time that we know of Luke used his green lightsaber was when he ignited it over the sleeping Ben Solo in a brief moment of instinct out of complete fear after seeing the future and what Ben would do as Kylo Ren. The feeling lasted a second, but it had dire consequences. Luke's temple was destroyed, his students were killed, and Ben disappeared. Unable to bear the weight of his failures, Luke went into exile in 28 ABY. Instead of blaming himself for his failure, he blamed the Jedi as a whole. He was convinced that the Jedi Order had done more harm to the galaxy than good, that they were so blinded by their own light that they let the darkness creep in to take control. So he went to Ahch-To, the site of the first Jedi Temple deep in the unknown regions, to let the Jedi die with him. Luke would spend the final 6 years of his life on the unnamed island, closed off from the Force until the very end. He lived in a simple stone hut built by the first Jedi millennia ago. Interestingly, the visual dictionary for The Last Jedi reveals that Luke brought many artifacts with him to the island, things that he had found in his years traveling the galaxy while learning about the Jedi of the past. He had many relics in his hut, like a Jedi Crusader pendant that held a broken red kyber crystal. While Jedi typically do not keep material possessions, the fact that Luke decided to bring his collection of relics with him to the island was the first hint that he may have kept his lightsaber. But here is where the novelization confirms that he did. So the Temple Island was populated by the Lanai. An order of female Lanai were the caretakers of the Jedi structures. They called the various Jedi that came over the years outsiders. For thousands of years, they tended to the island as Jedi have come and gone, and they largely ignored the Jedi's presence and just kept the huts clean for them, conducted repairs, and lived in their own village. In 34 ABY, the year of Luke Skywalker's death, their leader was named Alcida Auca. She was the caretaker matron, and she knew Luke, or as she called him, the latest outsider. According to her, Luke had arrived on the island bearing many artifacts, some which the Lanai had recognized as being taken from the island long before. Instead of avoiding them, Luke had learned their language and ways, appearing each month at their festival. And he had insisted on doing his own chores, gathering his own food, and helping them with repairs. Eventually, Alcida Auca decided to accommodate him, and he had been little trouble after that. However, Rey, who the Lanai just referred to as Luke's apprentice, was known as rude and destructive. Interestingly, the Lanai knew when Luke died. They had found his robes on the ledge above the sea, as if he had vanished. Wherever he had gone, there was more work to be done on the island. Alcida Auca verified that one of the other caretakers had cleaned the outsider's robes and put them away in the storage hut, along with his woolens, pack, and boots. Another had taken his weapon, his star compass, and his strange other gear to the repository, where it would join other items gathered over the generations. So there you have it. This little sentence in the novelization of The Last Jedi, specifically the expanded edition, confirms that Luke had his green lightsaber with him on Ahch-To the entire time. He had a ton of artifacts that must have survived the destruction of his temple on Ossus, and he brought them with him when he went into exile. When he died, the Lanai caretakers gathered them up with his saber and put them with other Jedi artifacts from over the millennia. So right now, in Star Wars canon, Luke's legendary green lightsaber is just sitting on Ahch-To, waiting for someone to come pick it up. Who knows if we will ever see anyone go back there down the timeline? I think it would be cool, but I'm not sure how it would be relevant to a story. I guess that they still do have a map to the island, so maybe Rey could take students there if she wanted to train Jedi on the island where the first temple is. Since she buried Anakin and Leia's lightsabers on Tatooine, maybe she should go grab Luke's and bury it with them there, so all of the Skywalker lightsabers can be together. Either way, I'm really happy to know this information. This is honestly something that I didn't know. I have been asking the question myself, and I finally researched it and was happy to know that this information has been established for years and is just something that I had never read about. You guys know Luke is my guy, and I have my problems with The Last Jedi, but I've always wondered what happened to his lightsaber in canon. Where was it? What did he do with it? And it's actually kind of nice to know that it's with other Jedi relics at the very first Jedi Temple, because Luke was a legendary Jedi Master, and I kind of like the idea of it resting with other Jedi artifacts at such a legendary location. I do think it would have been interesting to see what Luke thought of the weapon, if maybe he couldn't even bear to look at it or something like that, if his guilt and shame was connected to his lightsaber because he ignited it over Ben and it was so deeply connected to that moment of fear and his failure of Ben. That would have been cool. Like, there should have been a scene in the movie or something where he takes his lightsaber out of a box and looks at it and he can't barely bear to look at it, and then he puts it back in the box really quickly and closes it or something like that. That would have been cool. That's kind of like a scene that I was waiting for in the theater when I saw The Last Jedi. Like, I was always waiting for the green lightsaber to show up, and then when it never did, I was very disappointed. Since we know in canon that Kyber, or the crystal, connects with the user and it forms a bond and stuff, I just thought that would have been a cool connection to explore. Maybe if the crystal... The lore has been expanded so much in the comics, like specifically the 2020 Star Wars series, just the mainline Star Wars series. They've talked about how the user's emotions can go into the crystal with like bleeding and stuff like that. So I don't know, it could have been such a cool thing to have Luke's like shame and guilt be connected to the crystal, and his fear in that moment when he ignited it over Ben. There could have been something really, there's a lot of potential there for something cool with his lightsaber connected to that moment. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling a little bit, but anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did, and as always, may the Force be with you.